I said to Martin, like, we have stakes with your story, clearly. But what's at stake for you as a man? You know, that's how we chose these cases. That's how we chose to focus on 1988 to 1994, because his sons were growing up. They went from toddlers to preteens, you know, and Martin's away from home more and more and more and more. And danger's creeping closer and closer to their doorstep. And his father, Martin's father, is getting older, and he wants to make his dad proud, but he can't tell him what he's doing because he's working UC.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of these sorts of emotions in terms of purpose and duty are very apparent in this story because it was all happening all at the same time for him. And I wanted that to come through. So if you read the book, you'll see like his wife Maria is in like the first 5 pages because he has to call her and say, honey, sorry, I can't come home tonight. You know? And the family is its own narrative arc throughout the book that has its own beginning, middle, and end and rising action, because these people are tethered to Martin and him to them. And they have their own roles in the law enforcement side. Martin and his wife Maria are walking down the beach one day, and from behind them they hear, Manny, is that you? They turn around, it's a cartel guy. And Martin's with his wife. And his wife, Maria, just has to stay quiet and nod and smile. And she knows the guy's Colombian because of his accent. But Martin can't tell her the full scope as to what he's doing. He just told her at the beginning, like, if we ever run into anyone in public, just be cool.
Yeah.
Maria's the real unsung hero of this whole book, of Martin's career in general, because without her support, he would never have been able to do what he did. Without her silence at home, you know, her restraint, Martin couldn't have been clear-headed in the field. He credits his ability to do this job with Maria's strength as a mother and a wife, you know, because when he was out in the field, he knew that everything was good at home. And when he went home, she never brought him down with complaints. She always believed in the nobility of his job to a degree that allowed him to bring a level of confidence into the field that allowed him to succeed and never slip up. So that's another thing about the book. And then, you know, you think maybe as you read the book, okay, you're just throwing in the family thing for you know, to tug the heartstring. But then in Act 3, you have people coming to their house, sitting outside their house, pointing a gun at Martin, telling the family on Christmas Eve, we're going to fucking kill you. You know, who are these people? Are these cartel guys? You know, like this case literally brought the cartel to Martin's doorstep more than once. His wife and kids were in danger, you know, and he had to find a way out. He had to find a way to close the case, not get killed, not get his family killed, and make his dad proud. And he was able to do all of that in this book. And then again, at the end of the book, the denouement, it all kind of comes together in that Martin's father passes away. And this was the last case that he did before his dad passed away. But he was able to tell his dad all the secrets, you know, before he passed, and say, Dad, I did this all for you, and the whole thing, you know. And when Martin and I talked about his father, Martin cried. And that's when I knew what this book was really going to be about.
Yeah.
And Martin was apologizing to me, you know, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I'm like, because you've never told anyone this in your entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think anybody who's ever had a relationship with their dad, you know, gets that emotion. There's, I think it's a unique bond that sons have with their fathers, daughters with their mothers. That's unique to the overall dynamic of a family. And it's different for everybody. You know, everybody's got their own unique experience and everything like that. But I don't know, I identify with it.
I mean, but for Martin too, like him and his dad used to watch TV when he was really young, and they would watch all the old school like 1950s shows,
Mm-hmm.
you know, FBI agents and the naval officers, and
Mm-hmm.
Martin's dad would tell him, you know, if I could do it all over, I'd be an FBI agent, you know. I wish I could have been a naval officer. And then you look at what Martin did with his life.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, you know. It's like a tale as old as time. You know,
Yeah.
he was allowing his father to achieve his own dreams through him.
Yeah. I that hits home for me. You know, like I said at the beginning here, like my dad died of ALS, and you know, I was having some early successes, and it was like it felt like a rush to try to do as much as you could before he passed away and all that. And then yeah, when you think back on it, it gets a little bit emotional, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, this is a very human story that you're telling here. It's not Miami Vice, you know. It's relationships and how messy it can be when you do a job like what Martin did. I think most people, when they think about it, and this is why stories about undercover agents are so compelling, because most people are like, I can't imagine doing something like that, or putting my family in that position, or putting myself in that position, because, you know, what we see on the news and sort of in movies and TVs and stuff is, especially with the cartels, it's like beheadings and just cruel behavior, and the stakes so high. Yeah, the payoff high, but the stakes so high. And most people can't imagine doing something like that. And with Martin, what you've done in this book is you've shown a person that is a relatable person who loves his wife, loves his kids, is a family man, but is doing this incredible thing for really a higher calling.
Yeah. And Martin really did have that higher calling. And I think that maybe there was maybe he was a little bit naive, and he admitted this. He's like, I'm doing this work. I'm doing shit that no one had ever done before. We are making some of the biggest cases in FBI history. And look, the war on drugs ain't going to win. We ain't going to win this. So for him, he never really let that sort of creeping futility kind of affect his dedication. And he was very open about that. But he came away from the experience with a very honest understanding of like how big that problem was and how big it still is today.